working a job I didn't particularly like. I loved the people there, but I didn't like the job, and I was just kind of wasting my time. And I was like, I gotta make a change. So my life changed completely. This was like one of those 180 life changes where you're like, what is going on? I started waiting tables weekends and nights and whenever I could, saving a ton of money, and I started going down to the city. At this point, I lived in the suburbs. I was about an hour away from downtown Chicago. So I would get on the metro every day, go to the city, audition for whatever I could, like mostly student films and independent films at this point, get back on the train, head back to my suburb, walk in my house, get changed, go up and work a waitressing job till 11 p.m., midnight sometimes, go home, sleep, the next day, do the exact same thing. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy, but I was so happy. I was the happiest I had been in a long time because I was doing what I loved. I was hustling. I was making a ton of money waitressing, and that's going to be a whole other video because I now have the opinion that actors should not wait tables. That's a very archaic thing. It's not really a thing that most actors do anymore. As millennials, we kind of live in the age of work for yourself, and I really like the way that's going because I'm going to do a whole video about this because I feel like waiting tables can be a very, very toxic thing for an actor. A little controversial opinion, but I'm going to do a whole video about it, kind of sharing my specific stories about that because I have a lot to say about that. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, so I started doing that, and then I was in a movie at Second City. This was 2 summers ago, and I had a friend, and I remember he lived in the city and he was auditioning a little bit. And I was really jealous of my castmates in this movie because they were all kind of doing it. They were in the city, so they had access to auditions all the time. They didn't have to get on an hour metro ride and spend that money all the time to even get to a simple audition. And I was like, man, that would be really nice. And I'd always had this far back in my head, I always had this far, lofty, impossible dream of moving to the city and getting my own place and being an actor in the city of Chicago. And I was like, well, that's probably not gonna work. But I remember talking to this person, this castmate of mine, and he was like, and again, it's always these people that come into your life that ask you the hard questions that you can't ask yourself. And I remember he was like, what's holding you back from moving to the city? And I looked at him straight in the face and I was like, well, money. And he's like, well, that's not a valid excuse. He's like, I'm making it, barely, but I'm making it. He's like, you have plenty of money to move in the city. And it was one of those moments, again, where just something sparked in my brain and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And I set a goal. I said by the next spring, I was gonna move to the city. That was in July of 2018, and I moved to the city November 1st, 2018. So I didn't move the next spring, I moved months from that conversation with that castmate. Again, it all happened at once and it's all like some beautiful crazy blur, but I started waiting tables like crazy. By then I'd had a new restaurant waitressing job. I was hosting, I was waiting tables, I had 2 other jobs. I was saving all the money I could. I was packing up, I was researching every day. I would wake up at 7 a.m., go to Starbucks, grab a coffee and research apartments for rent. I found an apartment like that through a friend of mine, a friend of her friend, and it all, something I will say to all of you, and I hope this is encouraging for you guys, because something I will say that I've learned in my life and my career over and over again is when something is truly meant to be, it just kind of happens. Yes, you have to work for it. I'm not saying you don't have to work for it, but it just falls into place beautifully where you look and you're like, how did that happen? And it's just, from, quitting my job at Panera to moving to the city to, getting married and all those things, all those big life decisions I've made, it just fell into place beautifully where it can't be explained really. And I just want to encourage you guys with that because I know how hard it is to be an actor. I know how hard it is when you're new and you're just beginning your journey and your story. I thought this was just a far off thing that I could never achieve. Acting, moving to Chicago, etc. Even getting married, for goodness sake. I was like, that's never gonna happen. but it can be done, and it can happen. And I know everyone says this, and it's so annoying and so corny, but if I can do it, anyone can. Trust me. I have so many issues, and I've had so many obstacles that I don't even have time to mention in this video. But I just want to tell you, if I can do it, anyone can. Trust me on that. Take that to the bank. You can do it. It's really feasible and easier than what people make it out to be. So on a cloudy, crappy weather day, I moved to the city with, nothing but my dreams, so to speak. No, I had some savings, but I found a waitressing job. I think the first 3 weeks I moved to Chicago, I think I filmed 4 movies. All independent short student films, but some of the best films I've ever done, and some of the best experiences, some of the best people I've ever met on a film set. But it was my first 4 weeks in the city were crazy. It was like finding a waitressing job, settling in, unpacking. But through it all, I just had this beautiful peace and just settling feeling in my heart, like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is it. And the rest is kind of history. Previous to this time, I'd already had an agent. I got a new agent. I had trained my butt off for so many years, and now I'm a full-time actor here in the city of Chicago, and I'm married, and I don't wait tables anymore. And how that all came to be was I waited tables for about a year, my first year living in the city, and in that time, like I said, I'll emphasize this in another video, I soon realized that waiting tables wasn't the most flexible thing for someone who wanted to be a full-time actor. It was getting in the way of many auditions. I started going to EPAs. When I first moved to the city too, I'm getting a little scatterbrained. I started going to EPAs, I auditioned at Steppenwolf, I auditioned at, some of the Black Box and the storefront theaters here. I started really hustling, I kept training, met my future husband. That was kind of a big deal and exciting. And just all these things started happening very, very quickly when I first moved to the city. And then I very quickly realized that waiting tables wasn't gonna really work anymore. I was waiting tables 6 nights a week at this point. I still had 2 other jobs besides that, plus acting. And I just kind of realized, I was going crazy because I, wanted to audition for things, but I couldn't because I couldn't take off work. And I was getting very frustrated. This was another crossroads point for me of discouragement and kind of an inner battle. And I was like, I need money, but what am I going to do? And then last year, September 2019, I got married and I quit waitressing. 2 of the best things that have ever happened in my life. And it has been extremely hard not having access to that much money that I made waitressing, but it has been incredible because it has given me the chance to be finally a full-time actor. So you see how when you look at my journey, and this is just my journey, everyone's journey is different, unique, and beautiful, and I want you all to remember that. You can see how everything in my life was marked by these important crossroads. And that's what I want to emphasize is when you hit a crossroad in your life and your career, embrace it and approach it with grace and a gentle spirit and with joy. Because those crossroads are never, ever meant to defer you off your path. They're meant to guide you on the path you're meant to be on. You can't make a wrong choice. I know it's cliche, but if you listen to yourself and trust yourself and just go with your gut, it will not fail you. I thought I was crazy for when I moved to Chicago. I had savings saved up, but it wasn't much. And I thought I was crazy, but it worked out better than I could have ever dreamed or prayed for or hoped. And I know this was a scatterbrained video, but I just wanted to come in here and talk to you guys because if my journey, my crazy journey, it's been crazy. It's a very unique journey, a homeschooler from a town of 1,000, and now I live here in Chicago and I'm a full-time actor. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense on paper, but this career never does. And that's something else I want to emphasize, is you cannot plan an acting career. You kind of just have to work hard and roll with it. You know, my original plan was I was going to be in LA and I kind of did want to go to like a performing arts college and be in LA and hustle out there. And my path changed because I fell in love with Chicago. I was like, forget LA, I'm all in for Chicago. And that's why you have to really approach this career with an open heart and soul, because you never know what's going to take you. You know, if I had moved to Chicago, I wouldn't have met my future husband. I wouldn't have, probably quit waiting tables and gotten more freedom and more, independence in my own life and career. So stay open. And just stay excited. It's not meant to be a drudgery. If you don't like doing this, don't do it. Because it's not always fun, but it is rewarding and it is adventurous, and it will take you on a journey and on a story that you never would have anticipated. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love talking to you and to me like this, and I hope and pray so much that it encourages someone out there. And if it does, leave a comment below, and I can't wait for more videos to come. Thank you so much for sharing this journey with me. Thank you for letting me tell my story. Now go and tell yours.